Last week, I created a post on my YouTube channel where subscribers could submit questions, and in this video I'm going to go through all of the questions that were asked on this post, so let's jump in. So the first question here is, what do you think of systemd and how it's moving towards user registration and the impact it has on user privacy, now being the only option on almost all major distros? Are you okay with it or planning to move to a different bootloader? So this is a very interesting question and very pertinent because there is a lot of drama going on with Linux age verification at the moment. And a couple of weeks ago, I actually did a full 1.5 hour stream diving really deep into this topic. So if you search for this stream on my channel, you'll be able to see that. But in short, what I figured out during that stream is that systemd is complying by simply creating the option to log your age in systemd. In other words, like you already have this user database, and when you create a user, you can add things like there's also this old school command where it will ask you for your room number and maybe your phone number and something like that. And all systemd has done so far is add another field to that database or to that form, basically. So there's no enforcement happening. You don't need to fill it out and that it's being sent to a server to verify you. Not at all. So like the actual implementation of it is just a field in a form at the moment. So the users, the administrators of Linux systems still have the choice whether they're going to enforce this or not. So all that to say is that I think this whole systemd thing is extremely overblown, and in the root cause of it is that people don't take the time to actually investigate what systemd did and what is actually being implemented here. So if you want to get all the details, watch that stream. I'm actually researching it live over there. But to answer your question, I'm okay with it. I'm not planning to move to a different bootloader at all. Systemd is still the golden standard in the industry. So if you want to land a job, then don't move away from it. Don't do it. So that is my current stance of it. But hey, this might change in the future. The next question is, how do you test frameworks or operators, K3s kind or something else? So this is an interesting question. And the first thing I would say here is that you should always ask yourself the question, what are we optimizing for? And what is the goal here? And I always work my way backwards from that goal, okay? So if I'm testing a framework or a tool or something like that, then I always test it to the extent to how this tool is going to bring me closer to reaching my goal. How is that tool affecting the process of reaching the goal that I have? And that is basically the methodology that I always use for testing things. And almost always there is like a balance that you need to make between one tool or the other. And I will always evaluate to what metric are we optimizing for, how easy is it for me to use, how much friction is there, and how long will it take me to learn. And that is basically my framework for doing that. How do you manage to juggle your DevOps work and making videos for YouTube? Well, the short answer is I work 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I've been doing that for over 6 years now. So the short answer is I just work really hard. And the early stages of my YouTube channel and when I was building KubeCraft, I would literally wake up at 4 in the morning, and then from 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. I would be creating videos and creating courses. Then I would work my 9 to 5, and then at 5 p.m. I would eat and maybe some days go for a run or something like that. And the rest of the evening I would spend on making more videos, making more courses, helping my students. So I basically just work all the time, and that is how I juggle it. I'm not working a 9 to 5 anymore. I'm doing occasional freelance work, but at this point I'm like fully dedicated to teaching DevOps engineers and building my own AI applications on Kubernetes. I'm doing lots of live streams around that in the time to come, so make sure that you're subscribed for that. But yeah, I'm now moving to going full entrepreneur and building my own applications on Kubernetes. And the answer is just working all the time. That is also the reality of becoming a content creator and successful business owner, is that you have to be willing to work the 5 to 9. You have your 9 to 5, but then in the morning you have 5 to 9, and at the end of the day you have 5 to 9. And if you're not willing to give up those hours, then yeah, sorry, but you're going to be the same as everybody else. So that is how I do it. Next question. I graduated from uni a few months ago, and I've been grinding Kubernetes till I managed to take and pass the CKA exam first try. Nice. I run a Talos Linux cluster in my home lab. I already know Terraform, OpenTofu. I deployed the Kubernetes stack for monitoring through Flux, but observability seems like such a daunting task and I can't say I fully understand everything. Would you say I'm ready to apply to DevOps jobs or wait till I get a cloud cert first in the AZ-104? Yeah, this is a very common thing. Like your CKA is a very good start. You are building stuff, so that's good. The thing is that this is like a very typical place to be in what I call tutorial hell, right? You're just going through one thing after the other. You don't really know whether you're doing the right thing or not. And this is the problem that I solve in KubeCraft by providing dedicated mentorship for people and actually answering them tailored to their specific situation. And in this case, you are saying that it's such a daunting task and I can't say I fully understand everything. So like it's one thing to list all of these things out and get some certs. And you say you run a Talos cluster in your home lab, but like it's one thing to run it, to spin it up. Like almost everyone can learn to do that in an afternoon. But can you defend your choices? Do you actually understand what is running over there? If someone is grilling you on your projects that you build, do you know why it is? Or was all of this generated through ChatGPT? And are you basically, you spun it up, but you can't explain why or how it works? So that would be the type of stuff that we would be digging into if you would be in my mentorship program. So would you say I'm ready to apply? It's hard to say. If you don't understand, like you say, you don't fully understand what you've done, I would say no, but it cannot hurt to just try, right? And the thing is, there are going to be people out there, for example, my KubeCraft students, who are better than you, who have better understanding of what they build. They have better portfolios, online presences, and a deeper understanding. So that is your competition, but it might work. So that is basically my answer to it. So the next question, what do you think about Omarchy? Ooh, this is going to be a spicy one. Well, the first thing I should say is that I have not installed and run Omarchy myself. Like just to get that out of the way, I have not. So I'm operating on what I've heard and read about it, okay? As far as my understanding of Omarchy goes, is that it's presented as a way to quickly get up and running with Linux. It's a beginner-friendly way to start with Linux, especially tailored to developers who want to have these sexy rised environments and that they can basically look cool to their colleagues. That seems to me what Omarchy is optimizing for. What I cannot understand is that if you create some sort of beginner-friendly Linux system, and it's tailored to help people get into Linux, I do not understand why someone would then choose Arch Linux for that. Literally one of the most unstable, sometimes toxic ways of deploying Linux. Like, I do not understand why this choice was made, other than, and the only reason I can imagine is that they chose Omarchy because then people could flex, like, I'm running Arch Linux. But the thing is, to someone who actually has run Arch Linux for many, many years, installing Omarchy does not count as running Arch Linux, okay? You ran an install script, you're probably running an unencrypted system that you don't understand, and if something's going to break, you do not have the skills to fix it because you didn't build it yourself. So I do not understand why Omarchy would choose Arch Linux for that, other than to give people a lightweight opportunity to flex, like, oh, I'm running Arch Linux. So that is not the way to do it. And I have moved away from Arch Linux. I'm not even running it anymore, but I'm very proud to say that I did run it for many, many years on a system that I built from scratch using the Arch Wiki. And that is how you do it. That's how you learn Linux properly. That's what I teach my students to do. Yeah, that is basically the first thing. Why choose one of the most unstable things to do that? The second thing is going to be that Omarchy is run by DHH, who has many companies. He builds software, and actually we should look this up, but as far as I know, if you install Omarchy, it is also going to include some software that he creates, for example, Hey or something. So let's just check that, Omarchy, just to make sure. Beautiful modern opinionated Linux by DHH. Yeah, so this is Hey. Okay, so I believe the applications, does that, let's see, does this say anything? No. Let's see, GUIs, LibreOffice. So going over the manual, does it say anything about the applications that are included? Let's see, the applications. No, it just says Terminal, NeoVim, AI, DevTools. And actually, while I'm glancing over this, like, I would never oh, this looks so horrible to me to install a distro that has all of this stuff included. DevTools, it ships with NeoVim. Okay, great. But then Docker, yeah, I don't like that. You probably would use Podman instead. Or it includes GUIs, Obsidian, Pinta, LocalSend. No. If you're gonna run Linux, like, don't let other people decide what you run, okay? Like, do your own research. Other packages, no. I don't like this at all. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't. And let's see, terminal. Alacrity is the default terminal. That's a good choice. Tmux layout functions because oh wait, so they even like program Tmux for you? Ooh, no, I don't like that. No. Let's see. Omarchy ships with an ergonomically optimized Tmux configuration. Okay, here we go. This is going to be spicy. Let's see. Cheat sheet. The prefix is Control Space. No way. They changed the prefix to... Okay, Control B also works. Okay, I'll give them that. Okay, Control B V, Control B H tab. Okay, Omarchy is just off the shelf for me. Like, off the table. Like, do not install this crap. Do not install Omarchy. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. You get tons of bloat, and they are going to teach you horrible patterns. Like, oh, this is so against anything I would ever teach my students. You do not change the default key bindings in Tmux. Period. Learn this, and you're going to be completely helpless on any Linux system that you're going to encounter after this. Do not change the default key bindings in Tmux. Do not do it. Omarchy, this is absolute total shit that is going to teach bad patterns to people, and this should be deleted off the internet, in my opinion. So that's all I'm going to say about Omarchy. It will include like Hey and all of the stuff that DHH builds. I have nothing against Mr. DHH. That's not the thing here, but be aware that I believe Hey and all of that software is going to be included with your install, plus of the other bloat. So no, stay away from it. How many hours do you sleep? That's actually a great question because I have been on a big journey about this. You may not know that I also have a Substack, a personal Substack, where I talk about more personal stuff as well. It's mishavandenberg.substack.com. It's usually linked below my videos too. So for multiple years, I've been tracking my sleep with an Oura ring, with my Whoop. I use an 8-sleep mattress. I take supplements. I did so much. I changed my complete life around optimizing for sleep. Answer is that now I sleep 7.5, 8 hours a night, but for most of my life I've been sleeping 5 to 6 hours. And if you want to know more about how I did it and why, etc., then check out my Substack. It will be linked below this video as well. And I did a full detailed video about my whole protocol, and I hope it will serve you well. But if there's anything I would advise you is to prioritize sleep. It's good for you. You will study better. You will perform better. And it's one of the biggest improvements I've made in my life over the past few years. But it has been a long journey for me. It took me a lot of effort to fix it. Will AI take DevOps jobs? Ooh, yeah. I actually have done multiple videos around this theme recently. One of them will be linked up here if you're interested. The short answer is no. The more nuanced answer is I should start by saying that nobody actually knows. So me sitting here and giving a definitive answer is always going to be flawed. So I want to preface that by saying that nobody actually knows, and anyone who claims to know is a fraud. Then the second thing is that AI is never going to be worse than it is right now. So what it cannot do today, in 1 year or 5 years from now, is going to be a completely different situation. And with that uncertainty, it is very hard to give any real predictions. However, as someone who has used AI for 6+ hours for 2 years straight, 6+ hours a day for 2 years straight right now, ever since it came out, I do feel that I have a very strong position to evaluate the current state of affairs. And that is what I can judge from. So I use AI to build my own apps on Kubernetes. You can check out my live streams around that. So I'm actively building applications now. I'm building and deploying applications. I'm using AI to build them, to deploy the applications. AI runs a lot of my personal life and my business. So my company is a very AI forward company, and we use tons of AI workflows to help us in the company. But with all of this experience and knowledge combined, for actual DevOps engineering work, I still think DevOps engineers are going to be extremely safe in a very foreseeable future to come. Is AI going to impact our jobs as DevOps engineers? 100%. 100%. It is going to reduce some of the tasks that DevOps engineers have to do. But the thing here is that I have in all of the DevOps jobs I've had, all of the contracts I've done, the DevOps team is always overloaded. There's always too much to do, right? There's always fires to put out. You want to work on this feature, but then suddenly a server goes down and you're dragged away from that. There's always this sort of balancing act, and there's never enough time. So if anything, I think AI is going to help DevOps teams to finally get around to the real important stuff. Finally, we are going to get time to focus on securing our application end-to-end properly and implementing SBOOMs and implementing container scanning and security and doing all of these things properly, right? So if anything, I think DevOps engineers are going to have more work to do and better work to do. Like in terms of like writing boilerplate code, infrastructure as code, managing cloud resources even. AI is very helpful in that. Initial incident response, so it can do initial debugging with even with agentic workflows. All of that is going to save time, but I don't think it is going to take many DevOps jobs. It's certainly not like you cannot replace DevOps engineers by AI, because DevOps, by its definition, is a super broad role. And the most important thing, which is why DevOps is so safe, is that DevOps is not just a technical role, okay? Like developing and writing code is a very technical thing often. Like there's many layers to software engineering, but what I'm trying to get at is that you can be a programmer and almost never interact with humans. Like you get a ticket with a feature in it and you spend 2 weeks writing that code and that's it, okay? There are programmers, plenty of programmers that work this way. As everybody knows, like writing code has almost completely been outsourced to AI models right now. But what you cannot outsource is human interaction and the human side of things. And DevOps is a very human-focused role. So as a DevOps engineer, you're not writing code all day. You're not just sitting there tinkering with servers. A true DevOps engineer needs to talk to stakeholders, map out the requirements that teams have. What are they actually struggling with? How are we going to approach this? Okay, so we're running Kubernetes clusters. Now I need to get the development teams to actually use them properly and implement auto-scaling in their application. Yeah, but we don't have time and this is not a priority on our backlog. Yes, but if you would do it, you would save a lot of costs. So management would be a lot happier. This kind of interaction is something that cannot be outsourced to AI at all, especially in large organizations where DevOps engineers are kind of the glue between dev and ops, right? So that in the purest form of the DevOps philosophy and role cannot be taken over by AI. So that to me is one reason why DevOps is safe from AI. And finally, the second reason is Kubernetes is the de facto operating system for AI workloads as stated publicly by the CNCF. So DevOps engineers or modern infrastructure engineers control and manage the infrastructure that the actual AI workloads need to run on. So ChatGPT, Anthropic, Claude, Grok AI, Google Gemini, all of this stuff is being built, trained, and run on Kubernetes. So if you have Kubernetes skills and AI infrastructure skills, you control the infrastructure that all of this stuff needs to run on. So by definition, you have a skill set that is going to be relevant for decades to come. And if you want to know more about that, like Kubernetes is the answer. I have a completely free Kubernetes learning roadmap that is linked down in the description below. This will teach you the full path to becoming a Kubernetes engineer, what the steps are. It includes 8 hours of free content of my paid courses that you get completely for free. So check it out. It's linked in the description below, completely for free. How can I create and scale my own home data center? I love that question. Well, start by getting 10G internet and lots of power. If you really want your own data center, make sure that you have a room that is soundproof, because these servers are loud. But I think you just mean a home lab that is maybe a little bit more than usual. So the serious answer here is to start small. Start with what you have. You do not need to buy tons of big servers and GPUs, etc. You start with what you have, maybe a Raspberry Pi, and gradually build out from there. That is how to to create and start it, and then you scale it from there. The next question is comparison of Arch versus NixOS. Interesting question. Yeah, you're asking me, but this is something that you could easily Google, right? But basically, Arch is a full-on Linux distribution. It's very minimal, and it allows you to build your own Arch or Linux system basically from scratch. Like Linux from scratch is a term, so I don't mean that Arch Linux is actually Linux from scratch, but with Arch Linux you get a very basic minimal system, and it's your job to build it out the way you like it. This is why I like Arch so much. Now NixOS is different in the sense that it is declarative. So when you build an Arch Linux system, you are on the command line running the commands and manually installing packages. NixOS has a whole programming language that you need to learn from bad documentation and, from what I gather, a toxic community. It's required that you learn this whole programming language in order to build your operating system. And to be honest, like, I'm really interested in it. Like, this is such a compelling way of running your infrastructure. And my YouTube videos, like every time I make a video about my containerized workflows, people are saying, yeah, you should just use NixOS. And I don't disregard those comments, but I really like the idea of NixOS, and I actually frankly would like to use it. But the reason why I don't do it is because NixOS has basically zero relevance in the actual modern infrastructure industry. So I like to keep my chops inside of Linux, running systemd, working with Podman, working with the tools that actual Linux systems in large enterprise environments are actually using. So I keep building my skills into that rather than learning some obscure programming language that I would only use to manage my personal workstation and my dot files. Like, that does not sound like a compelling use case for me to spend so much time. Like, I've literally talked to so many people who say it takes about 6 to 12 months to learn this well. And if I do something, I want to do it well. And as an entrepreneur with a very high hourly rate, that is just wasted time for me. So I will not spend time on that on NixOS. Maybe when I retire and I have all the time in the world, maybe one day I will look into it. But for now, I keep to stuff that is actually being run in production in small and large environments. Will you ever make a YouTube video on how to build dev containers? Well, the answer is no. You see, when I teach this to my private students, I built a full 8-hour course that people work through, okay? So that is beyond the scope of a simple YouTube video. To build dev containers is super easy. You can literally search that on the internet, but the key is how, like VS Code, you literally just click one button and you have a dev container. Like, that is not the magic. The magic is how do you do this properly from the command line and have a workflow where you create a reproducible dev environment in any containerized environment where you are. So it's not about dev containers, it's also about how are you actually creating this environment from scratch. And in order to explain that correctly and deeply to you, the course is 8 hours, excluding the bonuses. So I need time and to teach this properly, and that is beyond the scope of a YouTube video. Most people don't have the attention span to watch that anyway, so that's why I won't do it. Next question. You said a few times that you are very sensitive to noise. I presume, also following your persona, that probably you don't live in a house, rather a flat. How do you handle such issues with noisy neighbors, parties, drilling, and so on? It can totally destroy my flow state while learning. Yes, I am sensitive to noise. I do live in a flat, you got that right. And I am very fortunate, though, that I live in a particularly quiet building. So I almost never have noisy neighbors or parties going on. It happens like 4 times a year or so. I'm very, very, very lucky with that. The thing is that in that sense, my environment is great. But when I am in my office or my bedroom and I open my window, I will hear car noise. It was just all day long. There's just a road, but it's not like a highway, but it's just that every minute a car will pass that road. It's through the middle of the small town that I live in. So I'm hearing that noise all the time. And like, there are moments in my day where I don't register it, but when I'm like in bed reading a book and I have my window open, which I have almost year round, I'll always hear it. What I do is when I sleep, I always sleep with earplugs. The second thing is I will very often use white noise. So there is on YouTube Music, white noise 3 hour long. I almost always, when I enter a deep work session, I will put my headphones on and listen to that. This is apparently proven in studies to help with focus as well. I didn't used to do this, but I do it now, and it helps. And every time there is like noise going on around me. So for example, when I worked in an office still and I had to show up and be in the office before I went independent, then I would always bring really good noise canceling headphones because I cannot work if I hear a conversation going on. So I would always just go to the office because I had to. I would show up, say hi, and talk to my colleagues. And then when it was time to work, I would always just have my noise canceling headphones on. I use AirPods Max. They were great. And I would have them on. I would then first try like white noise or brown noise. And if that didn't work, I would listen to very loud music. Like I'm a metalhead. I love metal music. And so that is what I would listen to. Now, listening to music while working is proven to decrease efficiency and focus. However, I am less productive if I hear conversations around me than when I listen to music. So it's like, how inefficient do I want to be? I'm 100% inefficient. Let's say I am 100% efficient if it's total silence around me and I can focus. Okay, that's when I'm 100% efficient. If I have conversations happening around me, I drop to like maybe 5%. Like I cannot focus. I try, but it's just super hard for me to do. So then I'm at like 5% capacity. If I listen to music, I would go back to maybe 50, 60% depending on the type of music and my mood. Sometimes I can like listen to music and be at like 80% or so and have good focus, but that is basically where I'm at the scale. So to me, it would be worth it to listen to music really loud and drown out the conversations and be able to focus on my work. So that is how I deal with it. I basically block out the noise, and when I have noise around me, I use earplugs when sleeping and then white noise while working. What is WebSocket and what exactly socket and how it works and how is it different from HTTP? Can you make this as a video, please? Okay, well, it's an interesting idea. Like, I'm not going to explain that in this video. We've already gone very long, and this is basically stuff that you could easily look up in a tutorial otherwise. But if you like my teaching style, I would be happy to dig into it and make a tutorial at some point. Next question. We need how to self-host AI agent and use it our workflows because Claude is so expensive. Lots of grammar issues here, but I think I get what you mean. So the question is basically running local AI models. Well, this is what I'm like diving really deep into myself, and this is a very fascinating topic to me. Currently, the things on my radar is Hermes agent. This is one of the second things I'm going to try. Like, I use Claude, I have maximum subscription. Like, the thing is, you're already thinking about this the wrong way because you say Claude is so expensive. The truth is, it's not. Tokens are never going to be cheaper than they are now. Like, these companies are losing money on actual AI inference. What they're doing is they're making us dependent on AI development, heavily subsidizing our AI usage. And then in the future, it's already happening, by the way, but in the future, they're going to raise the prices. And because nobody can code anymore, everybody needs these tools, and then they can price it with however they want. So the fact that you can just code for 8 hours a day for $200 a month is insane. Like, it is insane how much value you get, how much tokens you get for a ridiculously low price of $200 a month right now. And it's never going to be cheaper. This is why I am like squeezing everything out of it while I can, because basically I can learn for free now. So it is not expensive, and you should take the chance of learning it right now. That being said, if you do want to self-host, there is just so much happening here. By the time I make any claims right now, this is already going to be outdated by the time this video comes out. But what I am going to be doing, the next things I try is going to be the Hermes agent and using Qwen 3.6 35B as a local AI model. Okay, I'm a second year CS student. I know well with Java, Spring Boot, SQL, Go, Kubernetes. Average backend developer. I have KCNA, KCSA. I'm planning to take the CKA exam next week. However, I don't have a job and any experience. If I want to apply for a junior position, they are asking me 3 years of experience. I cannot stop thinking about what I need to do after CKA. Should I go for Kubes or not, or build Kubernetes lab and some projects? Which way my chance of getting a job is higher? Even with Kubes or not, does company companies hire without experience? Thank you in advance. Yeah, so this is very typical where, I mean, you are a second-year student, you have lots of theoretical knowledge, and you are doing well on the certification front. The thing is, it's absolutely possible to land a job without experience, and people and companies do hire even if you don't have experience. But the thing is that you cannot stop thinking about what I need to do after CKA. Should I go for Kubernetes or Kubernetes Lab? Like, the thing is, companies hire skills, okay? Companies hire proof that you can do the work. And if you keep getting certifications and getting theory, then you are never going to be able to prove to an employer that you can do the work. So the short answer is yes, there are plenty of companies hiring junior people like this, especially if you already have CKA skills. It is absolutely viable. Is there is competition? Sure, but it's not impossible. I mean, I did it. I was a nurse without any experience, and I didn't even have a CS degree, so it's absolutely possible. But the thing is that you have to stop focusing on theory and focus on creating proof that you can do the work. And the second thing here is that you need to learn how to get interviews and how to convert them. So many people underestimate how much people skills you need in order to actually successfully land and convert an interview. And this is also why, like, the KubeCraft curriculum, it is a complete curriculum, because yes, we teach tools, we teach the technology, but we spend so much time teaching you how to use LinkedIn, how to create a profile online that actually attracts recruiters, and how to get interviews, and how to behave on them, and how to convert them, right? So just learning tools is not the answer. You also need to learn the actual skill of searching and landing jobs. And this is why KubeCraft is so effective, because we land jobs every single week. So the answer is you need to create proof and also learn the skill of actually landing those jobs. And don't think that it's just learning tools and getting certifications that's going to get you the job in the end. Next question, step-by-step guide to becoming a DevOps engineer with its branches. The best one to get into as a junior with no experience, job, search to hunt for, and everything. If you were to restart, how would you do it? Thanks. Okay, so you're asking me to give this full step-by-step guide in a Q&A video. The short answer is, like, that is not possible. I cannot give you the full path in just one video like this. Becoming a DevOps engineer with his branches. And actually, the career of a technologist has changed a lot. Like in COVID, anyone who could write 2 words of code would get hired almost instantly. But that has changed. And especially with AI coming around, I heard someone talk about this where they actually say that getting a tech career is almost becoming more like a doctor these days, where you have to commit to many years of learning and also commit to staying relevant and keeping learning. And I gotta say, I have to agree with this, that you cannot just do a 6-week boot camp or watch a roadmap video and imagine that you're going to land a job. So if you were to restart, how would you do it? Well, the first thing that I would do is I wasted months on trying to piece together my education from free blog posts and YouTube videos. And the first thing I would do differently is to invest in quality educational materials. There's good stuff on Udemy, but if you want to do this, then find someone who has a public record of people landing jobs with him as a coach, okay? Find a coach, someone who creates courses, and someone who is actually able to help people to land DevOps jobs. Because there are places that have DevOps courses. Udemy is full of them, but you have to ask yourself, is this going to land me a job? And landing jobs is not just watching courses. Landing jobs is not just getting certifications. It is so much more. So search for someone who can help you, that you can pay, that is going to accelerate your career and so that you can get the job and outwork the competition and outdo the competition. So I happen to provide this service. I help people land DevOps jobs professionally. I have a full system built out with over 80 hours of courses and a proven public track record full of testimonials, people who have landed jobs through my coaching. And I'm not saying that you should come to me, but find someone, like, you can, of course, you can study with me. The link will be down below so you can see what that is about. You don't have to come to me, but find someone else then who does this, right? Find a public DevOps career coach who publicly has verified records and testimonials of people actually landing jobs with him, who can teach you this stuff from end to end. That is how I would do it. I would find someone who can help me and pay that person to help me me land this job, because I spent way too much time and energy trying to piece it all together from free YouTube videos. That is how I would do it. And finally, the last question is platform engineering better for future opportunities as compared to DevOps? How do companies hiring for them? Can I get a job in IT at entry level? And also, what about opportunities in MLOps? Okay, so this is a good question. Platform engineering, yes, it is better for future opportunities. Like what you see, like there's a big trend happening where companies are increasingly adopting platform engineering as a methodology and creating platform teams. In many ways, platform engineer is basically the correct title for a successful DevOps engineering philosophy applied to a company. The thing is that platform engineering is usually not an entry-level role. So I would consider myself a platform engineer, but you can only be a platform engineer if you truly understand Kubernetes, internal developer platforms, knowing how to translate customer requirements into technical solutions, and building all of that on Kubernetes. Like Kubernetes has won there, so there's no doubt about that. Definitely companies hire for it. Can I get a job in it at entry level? So yeah, I wouldn't say you can easily get a junior platform engineer job. Platform engineer is more like a direction that you aspire to. So you would start with maybe a junior sysadmin role, you become a sysadmin, then you go into DevOps or cloud engineering, and then you go into platform engineering. That is basically my view of the landscape currently. And finally, what about opportunities in MLOps? There's so much opportunities. Oh my God. This is where I am currently, like I'm directing my personal learning and career towards MLOps. I am building AI applications running locally on my own servers with GPU clusters, all on Kubernetes, and building my own applications for that. My next step is going to be then training my own models and learning everything on how to do that on Kubernetes. And I'm doing that because there's tons of opportunities in it. So yes, there's plenty of opportunities in MLOps. It's a very new field. There's so much happening in it. So it's very hard to tell you what to do or whatever, because it changes so often. So it's very exciting and it's full of opportunities. And that is basically my current read of that situation. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for these questions. I hope these were useful to you. There is a free Kubernetes learning roadmap linked down below. Check it out. The other resources I mentioned will also be linked down below. And if you're interested in getting more career advice, like I'm hosting calls multiple times a week where you come in and can ask me questions directly live with a group of other senior engineers. So if you want to get unstuck in your career, land your career as fast as possible, check out KubeCraft. It is linked down below, and I will see you in the next video.